This week's show brought to you by Frank Shoup, Georgetown's big name in cars. Welcome everybody to the News Graphics Scott County Coaches Show. We're here with Scott County Cardinals football coach Jim McKee. I'm your host Kal Oakes. And Coach, we always look back at last week's game at the beginning of the show, and last week's game, obviously a tough loss for the Cardinals. Came right down to the final play, right down to the final minute, and just didn't go the way you wanted it to.
It didn't, and you know, as you know, and the viewers know, when there's something in your life that's really, really important to you, that you give everything you have to, and it doesn't work out the way you want it to work out, can you learn valuable lessons from it? Sure. And you know, a black eye will heal better than a broken leg, and our leg's not broken. We just got our eye blacked a little bit. But that's probably the best night for high school football that's ever been in this community, in terms of the crowd, the youth league, the enthusiasm, the fact that we're playing a team that's, you know, consistently one of the very good teams, private school teams out of Cincinnati. And we came up a little short. And it's tough because the chance of having an undefeated season's gone. You know, the chance of being nationally ranked at any point in time is probably gone. And, you know, we only get that opportunity once. And I wish that myself and the rest of the coaches could have found just a little bit more of an edge to help push the kids over the top.
It's just the way that game ended too, because it was such a great game and such a
we gotta finish drives, Cal.
Yeah, I mean,
we gotta finish drives.
I think looking back at your red zone performance the first 3 weeks, you were 12 for 15 the first 3 weeks, which is not bad. I mean,
but what were we Friday?
Oh, for whatever. And,
I think we were 1 for 7.
You turned over the ball. You gave them the ball on the 11, and the 13. I know that. And you know that when you're ending drives inside the 20, not getting points. You know,
yeah, we just made. You know, I mean. You can look at all plays, but ultimately it's coaching. You know, we run the Sam ran the curl route on the first drive, and we get stopped by about a half a yard. And you sit there and say, well, gosh, Sam, excuse me. Gosh, Sam, why you running the yard past the sticks? Gosh, coach, why haven't you gone over that so much that it's automatic?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's an example. We missed a block on a little play action pass going toward the conference center in the third quarter, down 20-14. We mishandled a ball on a handoff on 2nd and 3. You know, the kids really want to win. We just need to make sure as coaches we're absolutely doing everything in our power to put them in a position to be as successful as possible. And, you know, that's the stuff that eats at me. You know, what would have 40 or 50 more snaps a day, how much time would that have taken, and would that maybe have kept us from mishandling that ball in that situation? But now the good thing is we were in a pressure game in the fourth quarter with a chance to win it, and we learned some stuff from that.
Just weren't able to run the ball
not like we want
the way you like to.
That's what I was just talking to the kids. I think the first drive of the game was 12 or 13 plays. I caught 5 passes.
That's not the balance you want.
That's not the balance we want. I mean, what is that? That's 60-40. You know, we want about 85-15, but we want, of those 15, we want, you know, 3 of the 7 passes that we call in a game to be big-time home runs.
I heard you talking with the kids, too. There's a difference between throwing the ball when you want to and throwing the ball when you have to.
100%. And we're not, you know, and somebody else, oh, this offense, that offense. First off, they don't know, okay? We know. Our coaches know the things that'll work. And this offense is great. And we've scored a zillion points and gained a zillion yards and won a many, many, many games. But we need to be able to throw the ball when we want to throw it, not when we have to throw it. And the tough thing is with high school kids, it's very hard. And when you stop and you think about college football, for example, it's very hard to teach offensive linemen to have a bowed neck and a flat back and fire off, and then all of a sudden let me get in a 2-point stance and protect a shotgun quarterback for 4 seconds. And so, yeah, we've got to be able to run the ball better.
We had an interesting conversation.
And they're well coached.
Yeah, they are. They know what they're doing.
You know, we couldn't get them out of position.
Yeah.
And you got to give them some credit too. Yeah. You know, we couldn't. I mean, they completed a fourth and one slant. I bet that caught you. You dropped the
didn't see that
pad
one
or whatever.
Didn't
see that one coming. I sure didn't.
No.
4th and 1. I think they're going to run that quarterback or hand it to number 4.
Yep. You got to have guts to make that call and then make the play.
And, you know, they tried a 4th and 2 earlier in the game, tried to pass, it was incomplete. Yeah, they're very well coached. We're going to go up there Saturday morning and play them in a JV game. You know, I think the biggest thing is you've got to keep putting yourself in that position and banging at the door and hopefully kick it in. You know, we felt like going in the game we had a chance to win. Yeah. And, you know, the good thing was Josh threw a pick right before the half, but that was like a punt. It was irrelevant. We were just trying to throw it up to the end zone.
3rd or 4th and forever.
Yeah, we're just throwing it up to the end zone. And so we didn't turn the ball over. We did have a couple key penalties. I think we had 6 penalties in the game, but we did put ourselves in a position to win. Yeah. You know, and same thing. I mean, gosh, you start looking at the film and what you know from what they got coming back from last year and haven't played against them. I mean, Lafayette's much more talented than Elder as far as God-given ability, speed, athleticism, that kind of stuff. Overall team size, you know, and so we'll be in the same situation. I mean, if we can't put the ball on the ground this week, or we'll be in trouble.
You've actually cut down the penalties every week. It's just the matter of where they happen, I think.
Yeah, and you know, I was talking to the kid that got the holding call right there. First off, nobody gets a penalty on purpose. I got called for penalties. All right, so I can do one of two things. You know, that kid can be upset and say, well, coach blamed it on me. No, I didn't. I didn't blame anything on you. First off, your coach that's the number one person to blame, is your offensive line coach should have had you down block and shoulder drive block, and the head coach should have made it. But when you separate away from all that and say, okay, why did I get called for holding? Because I'm lucky that was the 4th game. There's going to be another one when the season's on the line, the 13th game. Now, how can I avoid that same situation? Now, if you don't do that with mistakes, you're remiss, in my opinion.
Playing a Lafayette team that you know obviously very well. You've seen them a couple of times now in the past 52 weeks. This will be the 3rd time. Obviously, Walker Wood is somebody you got to be concerned with.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, you know, you can't worry about what happened last year. But it eats at your crawl. It'd be lying if you didn't say it didn't eat at your crawl to lose the game. You know, we did not play very well, and they played well. And, you know, they got that fake punt on us, and they ended up playing for the state championship. And that's you know, I've been fortunate enough as a coach to be a part of 3 teams that have played for the state championship. And you can't replicate that. I know when you drive up to the stadium and see that stadium for high school kids and you're getting ready to unload, and you know, that opportunity got away from us last year in the regional finals against them.
Back in Maine, where I used to work, there was a coach that said, we want to keep playing until they tell us we can't play anymore. We want to practice.
That's the greatest thing.
We want to practice that last week, because we know we're one of 2 teams, or one of 12 teams in Kentucky that's doing that.
And you go in there, that's one of the best feelings. I'm glad you brought that up, but you go in there after the Thursday morning practice or the Friday morning practice, depending on what night you're playing, before the state championship, and you take up the practice jerseys because there ain't no more practice.
Don't need them. Don't need them anymore.
And we talk about a sense of accomplishment and a sense of really feeling good. That's something that we want to be able to give to the kids on this team this year. Mm-hmm. You know, you hate to talk about, I interrupt you, but, you know, individuals, because it's a team game, obviously Coach Raines did a really good job with our kickoff return. Our blockers on that, and Kendrick broke that wrong run. Mm-hmm. That was a key aspect in the game and got us back in the game. Mm-hmm. And I felt like Coach McIntyre and our defensive guys, they came out, I don't know what you felt like, but I felt like a little wind went out of our sails on the first drive of the second half. They were able to take the ball down, right down and score. Mm-hmm. And then we ran that kickoff back, and we were, boom, right back in there. So those guys both really did a good job, and the players on those units. Offensively is where we struggled Friday.
I mean, you're going to look at yardage, and you're going to look and say, well, you didn't rush for a touchdown, but you only had 2 possessions in the second half if you don't count the kick return. I mean, 2 full possessions.
And both of them were positive.
Yeah.
We ran the first one and got sacked on the 113. And then ended up punting them down to the 5, and then we got it back to end the game. I didn't realize we only had 2 possessions second half.
Yeah, you learn from that game, and you go up against another, you know, top flight, now a 6A opponent. Can you take what you learned from that game and apply it to another setting that's going to be a great environment?
Well, you can learn some things. It's just so much of it's about matchups. You know, we matched up pretty well with Elder in that, you know, they're not super athletic and super fast, and neither are we. Now we got some kids that can run. I'm not belittling our kids' speed, but we're not as fast in some positions as we've been. Now, we're very physical and big and strong, but now Lafayette's really fast, and they got guys that can run, so it's a little bit of a tougher matchup for us.
What do you have to do to be successful other than?
Well, you're not going to stop Wood. I mean, that's like saying
not let him get on ESPN. I think
yeah, you know, now Trinity really shut him down, but as much of that of anything was Trinity just scored every time they had the ball, and so you know they got behind quick. You're not going to shut him down. You know, I think he's one of the tougher. It's hard to ever say Kal Oakes is the best. Jim McKee's the best. You know, so I'm not going to sit here and say is he the best, but he's in the conversation in my 20 years of dynamic kids in the city of Lexington that can impact a high school football game. You know, Shane Boyd years ago was at Henry Clay, and Eric Shelton was at Bryan Station. And in the modern era, I don't know, Ryan was around. I mean, I thought that freaking Elijah Bell was unbelievable. I mean, it was a hold the breath every time he had the ball type situation. And that's what it is with the Wood kid. You know, you just hold the breath. And he's been really fortunate. He's been able to stay healthy as much as he runs it. And you know, which is a testament, obviously, to his physical conditioning and strength. And just try to not turn the ball over, finish some possessions, and try to keep him halfway under control.
You mentioned Lexington. Is there an added thing there when you got a good team from the city coming up here, kind of the country, relatively speaking? You guys kind of take pride in that, and
we want to beat them. I mean, we want to beat all the teams in Lexington. You know, there was a time. I mean, I've been here a long time now. It's hard to believe that I'm 40. I'll soon be 47 years old next month, and that I've been here 20 years. But I mean, we lost game after game after game to whoever the best couple teams in Lexington were, and then we went on a big streak in. I think it started in 10 and went through 11, and the whole season of 11, the whole season of 12, the whole season of 13, and then to Bryan Station. I think we won like 23 straight games against the city of Lexington. Then we lost to Bryan Station. But I'd still say we're probably like 30-2 in the last 32 or 3 games against the city of Lexington. And absolutely we want to beat them. I mean, we want Scott County football to be the bell cow and the measuring stick for Central Kentucky in all classes. And we don't apologize for that. I think somebody said, oh, well, why are you saying that? And Coach Lord said, oh, you're making all our opponents mad. Well, they don't like me anyway. And I'm saying, you know, why not shoot for that? Don't you want the news graphic to be the bell cow?
Darn right. Yeah.
I want to be the bell cow for high school football in Central Kentucky.
He's Jim McKee. I'm merely Kal Oakes. We also spoke to Cam Shepard and Cooper Robb about this week's game against Lafayette and talk a little bit about last week's game as well. Let's see what they had to say.
Offense has been the story for Scott County most of the season, but last week against Elder, it was defense that carried the load.
Yeah, I like the way our defense played. I mean, we got a whole bunch of stops for our offense. I mean, our offense played good, but they could have maybe done a little bit more.
We've been working on our endurance during like more reps, getting more reps in, doing more practice just in that regard. But yeah, we're definitely working on being able to finish those drives.
The players say that a tough first half schedule should continue to pay dividends in October and November.
I thought we learned a lot. Some of our players actually learned what it's like to play on the big stage and gain more confidence from that, and really learned what it's like to play in a big varsity game, and I think that'll help us all later on in the year.
Getting those tough games early on really is going to help us in the long run. I mean, our goal in the end is to win state. Not, you know, I mean, these early games are important, but it's definitely the playoffs we're shooting for.
Containing quarterback Walker Wood is the key to beating Lafayette on Friday night.
Containing Walker, it'll be a task, but I think we can do it. And him being able to throw the ball as well as he can, our secondary have to step up, and our defensive front will have to contain him from scrambling a lot.
I think just execute on offense. Our defense is really solid right now. I just think that they've got a couple big guys, but I don't think we'll have any trouble with them.
Considering the playoff game, that last punt, I was guarding, I guess you could say, the kid that caught it, and I felt bad for the seniors because I felt like it was partially my fault, but I figured that, I mean, it was a team effort, and I want to get them back this year.
Scott County versus Lafayette has developed into one of the great football rivalries in Central Kentucky.
There's always a little hype when you have these rivalries with these schools that you play every year, but like social media and stuff like that, we try to zone that out and not really pay attention to it.
I mean, I like the competitive feeling of it, and I know all of our other players do too. and I think it will be very helpful for us.
It's just another game, and we're going to go out there and do what we do and execute on offense. You know, we're going to do fine.
Here are the highlights from last Friday night's game against Elder.